Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. Today, we're going to be talking about how to overcome procrastination. Now, this is a really important one, I think, for me especially, because I do procrastinate quite a lot, Jim. Would you agree?
Oh, what makes you say that?
I like to think it's more a strive for perfection, which, again, obviously, it really just delays you in what your ultimate goal is. If you spend too much time on the detail rather than kind of following through. And then we spoke about this at the weekend, actually, where you do something, get it over the line, and then sort out the wee niggling bits. Do you know what I mean? Instead of trying to get it perfect in the first instance. And that all kind of falls in line with procrastination. Now, for those of you that aren't sure, procrastination refers to an act where maybe you delay or postpone like tasks or actions, or things that really need to be done or accomplished. And it's often characterised with maybe a lack of motivation, difficulty focusing, or a tendency to prioritise the short-term things and the short-term pleasures over the long-term goal. So there are ways and means to overcome procrastination, and we're going to go through them today, Jim.
Yep, let's get your confessions, folks. Everybody that's watching, get in there what you're procrastinating about right now. What is the thing that you're putting off that you should really be doing, and you're avoiding it by doing everything else that's so comfortable for you?
Yeah.
We've all got it. And we talk about motivation. You, instantly enough, Richard, you said motivation. Let me just break that down, what motivation means. The motive for action. Motive, action, motivation. That's what it's all about. What is your motive for action? What is going to get you? Now, there is two different types here of motivation. There's internal motivation and there's external motivation. So most people will get their motivation or their motive for action from an external force.
Yeah.
That could be things like this, for example.
Yeah.
You watch this, you take it on board, you go, right, I'm going to do something tomorrow. And that's what happens. And or you go to a course and somebody hypes you up. Classic example is your property gurus or furus. I would call them the furus, the fake gurus, the ones that actually try to sell you a course, and then you're on the course and they motivate you and motivate you and motivate you. And you go, whoa. And you just start to deflate after 2 or 3 days because it's external motivation. That's where you're getting it from. Or you've read a book, or you've listened to a podcast, or you've got it from someone else that's getting it into you. That's the external motivation. You've got to be careful about external motivation because, as I just eloquently put,
but when that stops,
that's effectively all it's doing. It's just pumping you up every single time. You can't do that. You need to have internal motivation, which is built within. This is what we're going to talk about. We're really going to focus on the internal motivation that you need. External, you can get that anywhere. You can get off it any nutter on TikTok, I would imagine. Oh, talking about the TikToks, I forgot to put them on. I better actually get them on here.
I didn't see you say
that. Effectively, there's loads of people out there that just want to say their piece and they just want to be noticed. You've got to be careful of these sort of people and make sure you can get it from within. The reason that you want to get it from within, as I said, because this is what keeps you going every single day. This is what keeps you in action. This is what keeps you motivated, motive for action, and the things that we need to do in order to do that. What is some of the first things? Let me just get this first. Let me get the TikTokers first.
I'll let you say that.
I need TikTokers up, so they'll be disappointed that we're no live. Definitely.
I'll let you set that up. But yeah, you're right, Jim. And it's I think anyone that's watching will probably have been through that scenario where they've been to maybe an event or spoke to somebody or had somebody put them in that mindset and got them all hyped up, and you're in that kind of mind frame where you're like, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to do this, and a few days later, it's kind of you've kind of deflated, and you don't have that external force still pushing you. So then you kind of fall by the wayside, and then and then you'll sit and you think, right, I'll do it next week, or I'll do it in a few days, and then I'll do this first. And we've all been guilty of it. I do it myself. I do it for myself quite often. Like I said, I kind of you always get on to me for striving for perfection. Like, oh, well, I'll do all this first before I do this, and it's like,
I'll
no,
be
do it the other way
clearly
around.
upfront about this, Richard, the now,
Yeah.
and I'll be quite blunt about this. I mean,
Yeah.
burying my father last week was, I
Yeah.
tell you what, it was a huge eye opener to me, and it's affected me really deeply. I never expected this to happen. I'd never expected this to come, but I am scratching in the dirt right now, looking for the reasons to keep doing what I'm doing. There's no surprise about that, but this happens to everybody. So that's why I like actually discussing stuff like this,
Good
because
things like this, and
so other people realize that sometimes it's just temporary. Sometimes this too shall pass. Classic
I
example.
like that one.
Sometimes it is temporary. What you're going through right now, it is not the end of the world. It will be another day tomorrow. The sun will rise, the sun will set, the moon will rise, and life will go on. But you need to actually get over this hurdle of what is the motive for action, what's keeping you going, why are you procrastinating? I discussed it this morning with someone, with Ian, and he said to me about one of his friends, and I know him as well. Let's call him John. John will be going, what, you're talking about me? We don't know who John is, though, do we? Let's talk about John. John will do everything possible within his realm to be in his comfort zone. So he goes and orders stuff for his online gaming and all the rest of it, and he gets involved in it, and he does lots of online gaming, and he loves doing what he does. But he's not actually addressing what he should be doing, because he just loves being in this comfort zone. We've all been there. We are all John at some point in time, where we love just doing the comfortable things. We love doing what excites us, what gives us that wee dopamine hit. We love being engaged on social media. We love getting that appreciation and approval from other people that we don't even know. Imagine that, trying to impress people you don't even know with things you don't even need. We do all do that, don't we? And we continually procrastinate as a result of that, and actually do the things that make us feel comfortable. Nobody wants to feel uncomfortable, by the way. Nobody wants to do the things that they don't want really to do, because we know it makes us uncomfortable. We don't like rejection. We don't like failure. Sometimes we don't like success. Imagine that, eh? Sometimes we don't like success. The fear of success. Wow. Could you imagine that? If everything, we've talked about this recently, haven't we, Richard? What happens if everybody turns up? What happens if everybody turns up at once? I'll have a room full of, and I thought, what happens if everybody turns up at once? Flipping heck, everybody will be saying, oh my God, this event must be absolutely amazing if that's the case. Everybody's turning up. What happens if nobody turns up? Imagine that. This is a classic example of training people. You know, why should I train them just for to go somewhere else? It's like, okay, well, why would you not train them? Because I tell you what, if you don't train them, your workforce, and they stay, that'll be even worse. So I don't know what that's got to do with procrastination.
Well, I kind of no. Well, it does to me, because it's what we were speaking about last week. So, and it's the whole thing about, because I think it comes hand in hand. You procrastinate for reasons sometimes, and it can be the fear of success, or it can be maybe you're unsure about how it's going to pan out, whatever your goals or objectives may be, or wherever you want to be. You might not totally be clear on where that is, and that's why you put it off. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of elements.
This is great. I've got somebody on TikTok who says, got the perfect face for radio. And then they've gone and say, it would be terribly rude if I stopped listening to you and went to chat with somebody else. Please do. I don't care.
That's just pointless.
Just bye-bye.
Why even say that?
Au revoir. Arrivederci. See you later.
Who has time on a Monday afternoon to sit and write
to spend that Monday afternoon lying on your deathbed, and you think to yourself, all these times I went and slagged other people off, I could have got that time back to myself and done something productive with my life.
I know.
Just a thought, folks. Just a thought.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to break it down today. So I mean, I touched on it just there when I was speaking, and I think firstly, you really need to set your goals and set really clear goals about where you want to be and what you want to achieve. Would you agree, Jim?
Oh God, it's difficult. Even difficult to set goals. Now, why would I say that? Because for a lot of people, they've never set goals in their life. They've never done anything out of life. And as soon as somebody says set goals, switch off. Your flight or fight response jumps in. Your reptilian brain right in the middle, you can't change, jumps in as well, and it says straight away, "Oh, do you really need to do that?" See your self talk.
Yeah.
Oh, do you really need to do that? Is it really that important? Can you know we just wait till tomorrow? Guess what? Tomorrow never comes. That's the sign of a procrastinator.
That might
As soon
not.
as you say to yourself, or you hear yourself saying to yourself, I'll maybe just do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. It never happens. It'll never be there. Even tomorrow will be tomorrow of tomorrow.
Yeah.
The next day. That's why it never comes. So you have to realize when you set clear goals, yeah, okay, you can clearly define what you want to achieve, break it down to smaller goals, but the reality is you've got to really have minute goals to start with. Now, see, for a person, it can no longer, well, I'll tell you a classic example. I was listening to a podcast this morning, Jordan Peterson. So Jordan Peterson was on this morning, Diary of a CEO, and he was talking about a guy lying in his chair. Basically, he'd broken his neck. I think he was about 80 years old. He had broken his neck, and therefore, as a result, they had to fuse his neck in one place. So they had to fuse it. So he was literally just like that, and he couldn't do anything, and he couldn't move. He couldn't stand up really or anything like that. And his goal was actually just to walk. So he had to have the embarrassing situation, because it is embarrassing, remember, because he's been running, he's been doing everything, all the rest of it. He had to go back to actually being able to just stand. That was his goal, to stand for 30 seconds every single day. That's it. Just to stand straight, 30 seconds every single day. He had to go right back to the very basics to start again. How many people would be prepared to do that from where you are right now, go right back to the bare basics to become a millionaire?
Yeah.
How many people actually believe you can do that? I know you can do it because I've done it.
I know.
So I know you can do it.
Do you know, as you speak about the goals and then obviously breaking it down into maybe smaller tasks or smaller manageable things, or, you know, I'll use myself as an example without going into too much detail, because you and I spoke about this last week, and it's like you get to a point and you think, that's not where I wanted to be. And we look back and it was like, right, so if you'd stopped maybe halfway through and then looked at where you actually were, when you got to this point, you would have thought you would have been further on because you would have realized. But because I was just keeping my eye on the end goal as opposed to breaking it down on the way along to make sure I was on track, do you know, it kind of got away from me a wee bit. So
it is the small minutiae, Richard.
Yeah.
I am still struggling at this point in time to come to terms with the fact that just to even get up and actually do my normal exercises every day. You know, my TheraBand, the pull-ups, the lunges, just to do that. I am even struggling to get out the door to actually run and actually cycle now.
do all your things that you would do. Aye.
I think that's all just a byproduct of what's happened in the last week. There's no doubt about that. I know that. But I don't let it drive me down, because I do realize that it will be overcome at some point in time and I'll be back on track again. So I could easily, and I probably will later on, I usually do it first thing in the morning. And then again, you've got a person that's quite routine orientated. I'm very disciplined to routines. So it's difficult for me to understand when it doesn't go according to plan, why it's not going, and accept it. Why it's not going according to plan, and accept it. I beat myself up something rotten. That's the admission for you. I beat myself up mentally, something rotten, when it just doesn't go according to plan. Don't need anybody else to do it. Elaine says, "Oh, I told you so," and I was like, "Hey, listen, I don't need you to tell me."
There's nothing worse when somebody else does it, and you're like, "I already know."
I do enough to myself as it is.
I know.
I didn't need you to tell me. I don't need you to affirm what I already know. So next time, if somebody says that to you, just go, I'm glad you recognise that. not "I told you so" or anything like that, or even add fuel to the fire if that's the case, because it's difficult to just get back on track. But you have to have the faith within yourself that even though you set these goals, you will get back on track. And if you're finding it difficult to get that goal and hit whatever it is goal you've set, it could be just to earn another 50 quid a month, £50 a week, £200 a month, £300 a month, £400, £500, £600, £1,000 a month. It could be anything like that. We don't know how you're going to do it, by the way, but if it's that sort of thing, if it's a monetary goal, then if you're not able to earn the £1,000 a month yet, just try and earn the £100 a month just now. Make it smaller. And it goes back to the guy that, broke his neck and had to have it fused where it was. Just stand up for 30 seconds every day. That's where you need to start. And it might take you 6 months before you're standing up all the time. But then you're 6 months on from where you would have started in the first place. You're 6 months further forward because you would have still had to do it anyway. That's what people don't realize. You still have to do it anyway. You have got no choice. You have to go through. There cannot be any victory without a struggle.
Yeah.
Never in any of history has been anything achieved of any greatness at all without first a struggle. You have to do that. And that could be a struggle in the mind. That could be a struggle physically. It could be a combination of both. But you have to go through some sort of struggle in order to get that. And that is the uncomfortable bit.
Yeah.
And if you're uncomfortable when you're doing it, congratulations, because you're actually doing something right.
You're making change, yeah.
You're making change. You're doing something different. You're making an improvement in your life. If you're doing that when you set clear goals and it starts to become uncomfortable, congratulations, because you're learning something new for the first time. That is why it's uncomfortable. So when you're uncomfortable, you have to embrace that. You have to embrace the uncomfortableness. You have to celebrate the fact that you're uncomfortable in that certain situation, because you're doing it more than likely for the first time, or relearning it for the first time again, or for the second time. So setting clear goals, breaking it down to smaller manageable tasks, it'll help you stay focused and motivated overall. That is probably ultimately the key. And hopefully everybody's understood that and got a lot of information out of what I've just said. If you haven't, or you're not sure what I just said, because TikTok's live, obviously, go onto the YouTube channel and watch this back, and you'll see what happened in the beginning.
Yeah, and the next thing we're going to go into was creating a schedule, Jim, and you kind of touched it there, because I know you're big on this, and it's planning your day or your week in advance and allocating, specific time slots for each task and things, and that's something you're really big on. And like you said, because you're going through something at the moment it's obviously maybe not as easy to do that and stick to that schedule, and it's quite hard for people when they start falling into that kind of situation to put themselves down and just kind of give up. You obviously have that knowledge where you know that this will pass, as you say, this too shall pass. So you know this is part of the process to feel like this in situations like this, and you'll get back on track. But some people don't have that. Some people don't have that.
Anybody has, and if you look at life itself, anybody has any moderate success or big success has gone through a struggle at some point in time of disciplining themselves to stick to the schedule that they've created. The things like planning your day, planning your week in advance, allocating specific time slots for each task, sticking to the schedule as much as possible. See, as much as possible, not for God's sake, you better stick to all the time or everything else will fall apart in your world.
Being regimented and do it,
which is how I think.
That's quite difficult.
And I often have to take myself to task sometimes to say that, for God's sake, Jim, it's only one day. It's not going to be the end of the world. But then I think to myself, if I compound that over the next 365 days, that's 365 days that I've lost. But this is living with the disciplined schedule regime. We're not all going to be able to do this, and I understand we're not going to be able to do this. So give yourself a break sometimes. Give yourself a break. It's okay, and I'm not going to say it's okay not to be okay, because it's so cliched. And it's
I
just
know,
another
'cause
excuse for everybody. It's just
I
another
was just
excuse
gonna
to give
say,
everybody
don't
a buy. It's like, oh, it's okay, no, it'll be okay. Most
aye,
people, okay, no, it'll be okay, are the people that are not achieving anything. And they're
I was
quite
just
happy
gonna
to say
say, people
exactly
can
where they are.
people can construe that and think, oh well, I'll just use that, and then use that as an excuse to not follow through and do things. I think if you genuinely are struggling for a reason, or you're kind of over the head with a lot of stuff, give yourself a wee bit of a break. Don't beat yourself up too much, but don't just use it as an excuse. Like, oh well, I could just let that one go. Do you know? It's like
Yeah, I could
there's
just let
a
it go.
balance.
If you can do it, do it. If
Yeah,
you can't genuinely do it, then don't do it just now, and just put it off for another day. But make sure you plan it and schedule it. Make sure you just put it off and then reschedule it. Now, what I've been doing recently is I've realised I've been in for spin that day, and I thought I could do with just going out for a run instead. So I went out for a run, and I swapped my run with my spin or my
hmm
bike, my mountain bike, depending on my diary. So then I knew I would have to do it again another time. I had rest days as well in, for example, when I was training. Now, this is because I'm training for triathlon, and also the fact that I just want to beat Richard Branson up that hill
yeah,
or up that mountain. It's like in November. There's no way he's going to beat me this time. And that's kind of what motivates me. That's my clear goal, by the way. Actually, somebody was saying it to me this morning. He was talking to me about it, and he was saying that it's you'll have to let him win, eh? And I went, no. It's like, I'm not letting anybody win. It's like I'm not giving people a
I don't
buy
think
just
he'd be the
because
type
of
of
who they
person that
are.
would want you to do that.
I'm not giving anybody a buy just because of who they are. No
No, I don't
way.
think he would want that anyway. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
the key here is create your schedule. If you fail to plan, you plan to
yeah,
fail. It's the only saying. I love these things, and some people will roll their eyes and go, "No, here's this old cliche again." Are you doing it though?
yeah.
Are
I
you
know.
any moderate success at all? And if the answer to that is no, well, then maybe you should have some humility and actually listen to people that know what they're talking about. And I don't mean me. I'm just a distillation of the people that have come before me, and I've been lucky enough to sit in their shade at the tree that they grew earlier. That's all. That's all I am. I'm a combination and accumulation of all that knowledge and information that I continuously learn all the time of the giants that have gone before me. And all I've done is they've allowed me to stand on their shoulders and actually learn from them at the same time and elevate me a lot higher as a result of that. That's all I'm doing. Now, I'm not going to be any Warren Buffett any day soon, but I learn from Warren Buffett. I'm not going to be any, Elon Musk, but I would be daft not to learn something from Elon Musk,
Yeah,
especially when it comes to waiting lists. You've still to watch. Have you watched that video yet, Richard?
I started watching it at the weekend. Yeah,
Okay, well done.
yeah.
It's like, I thought you were going to
Yeah,
say you're going
after
to
we spoke,
procrastinate about it.
no. After we spoke on Saturday, I was watching it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a lot more to it as well, but yeah, I was watching.
And how Elon Musk uses waiting lists, how Rolex uses waiting lists and stuff
Yeah,
like that, and how you can learn. And Daniel Priestley, I did not want to watch at all. I wasn't remotely interested in what he got to say. But then I thought, no, that's when the time you should probably listen, Jim. That's
yeah,
what I told myself. Maybe you should listen. And when he got into the first 15 minutes, I went, wow, I'm glad I listened. I'm glad I listened to someone who I thought I didn't need to listen to.
mhm,
So I'll listen to quite a lot of people who are successful in their own right in their own field. And the reason I listen to them is because the moderate success that they have, it has a crossover. Because success is the same principle every single time. It's just the service or the product that changes. That's all. When you're successful at something, the process is
mhm.
more or less the same. It's you can map it and all the way out. The classic example of the book it actually emphasizes that is Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, where he talks about how Andrew Carnegie built his empire,
Yeah,
and then how everybody else, Henry Ford, and that as well. He talks about that every single time. So when you look at Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that is the template for success. It's not to follow the things that they've done, it's to understand the process that they did and to
How to
follow that
yeah.
and adapt it. So it's like a skeletal structure of what success implies or how it's followed. And then you plug in all the bits that you have to do in order into that structure in order to get your success in whatever field that you want to achieve in, whatever that needs to be. That's really what it comes down to. And that's why you create that schedule in order to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then along with your schedule, you would then prioritize, and prioritizing tasks is a really important one. And that just makes me think straight away of something that's important but not urgent, and then it becomes important and then urgent. Do you know what? And that's from 7 Habits.
Okay, and well, this is actually quite good. The prioritize the tasks. The priority of tasks that you should be doing, everything that you should be doing right now is things that are important but not urgent.
Not urgent, yeah.
That's everything that you should be working on right now. So what do I mean? Well, it's possibly a report you have to do for your senior management, but you've maybe got 2 weeks to do it. Well, start doing it now. Don't do it 2 days before, because 2 days before falls into crisis management. And then therefore it puts you under pressure, and therefore you say to yourself, oh no, I'm needing some information about this from someone else. Then 2 days before, you've got to go to someone else and tell them and say, oh, I need this in 48 hours, or I need it in 24 hours. And then they go, oh my God, and it puts them under pressure next. So see how that's crisis management in terms of how it works. So you need to do the things that are important, but not urgent. Don't fall into the trap of waiting till it's urgent and it's important, because this is crisis management overall. Richard, I'll let you talk about that for a wee while. I'm just wanting to get some information, and I'll come back to you.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right, Jim. And identifying the most important and urgent tasks, to work on them first. And like we say, is important and not urgent, and then obviously prioritize them. And this will prevent you from getting really overwhelmed and as you say, entering that crisis management, that kind of crisis management type of situation, which you don't want to be in, because then that really just puts you on the back foot. And then if you are then in that position where you're trying to seek other information to get you where you want to be, you're putting other people in that situation as well, and it has a knock-on effect. And it's not really good to be in a crisis management kind of situation when you could have organised and prioritised your task a lot better leading up to that. And we've all been there. I've been there myself. So it is really important to do that. And that's the important but not urgent. And then you've got important but urgent. And that's in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Absolutely. I've got it right
here.
Yeah,
I've just showed it. Yeah.
Dug it out for that reason.
Yeah.
Because it's quite interesting. And as I said, I'm looking for the paradigm here that follows this, and the tasks that are involved in this as well, and it fall into these categories. Right, here we go. So what is important but not urgent is activities. In other words, it's the management, the time management matrix it falls into. It is things like, for example, prevention, things that will prevent stuff happening. In other words, look at me exactly. I want to live a bit longer, and I want to have a more healthier life.
Yeah.
What things am I doing to prevent that? To prevent, becoming ill?
So
I'm training,
and you're training, and
running. I'm juicing. I'm plant-based, vegan. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do any of these stuff at all. I don't gamble. I look after my body. So this is all about prevention. What happens when it falls into when it's urgent? Then you're goosed. Because you've now your body's not able. This is now trying to cure stuff rather than prevent it, and therefore sometimes the cure isn't available anymore, and you're too late. You're now on your way out, slippery slope to nowhere. So, not urgent and important. For example, relationship building. You can do with some people, recognizing new opportunities, planning, and recreation as well. Things that are crisis management. Well, it's literally crises, isn't it? It's calamities that happen in your life. That becomes important and urgent. Classic example for airlines is when they miss when they miss the time slot, and then everybody becomes late, and then the plane can't take off in time, or the plane doesn't arrive. So what do you think they do? They don't then say to you, I tell you what, you'll get on the next plane. Because then that'll make everybody urgent and important, and it'll cascade into crisis management all the way through their schedule. They just take everybody out of that equation, and then they keep everybody in important and not urgent. They keep all the planes on time, and everybody that was boarding on the other planes from before are actually kept on time. So it's only one slice that's become the problem here. It's not every single day.
Instead of having that knock-on effect.
The doctors are the classic example for that. Remember when you used to go into surgery and the doctor overran and you're going, what time are you? And the person would go, I'm 12:30. And you're going, flipping heck, it's 1:45. It's like, what's going on? And then you knew every single person would be 15 minutes later now.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. So the way doctors planned for their appointments was everything became important and urgent after that. And they had to then try and make up the time, or somebody had to lose out. So somebody loses out on that specialist care because of that situation. Here's activities which are urgent, but they're not important. And these are the things you want to try and avoid, or you want to put out to PAs and virtuals, as interruptions, some calls, when you're on your mobile, or you're speaking to somebody, and then all of a sudden your mobile rings, and it's like people then go, I'll just answer my mobile. Wait a minute, you're speaking to me. Am I not important anymore? And people just allow telephones to interrupt them, just like that. Oh, this is an important call. All right, okay. So they're more important than me, or it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm more important than them now. You know what I mean? So just depending on who it is that's calling makes a difference to that person, whether you're important to them or not. That is not the activity you should be doing. You should be putting your overflow calls to someone else while you're in a meeting. Some meetings are actually not important, but they're urgent. But they're not important. Should you really be attending them, or should you send someone else and delegate it?
Yeah.
Pressing matters, popular activities, some things that you think you maybe should be. For example, at the weekend, I could easily delegated that task to go to present the cup at the Enigma gymnastics.
Yeah.
I could have done that, but I felt that I really wanted to go this time. And a change. So it was, and that fell to me under the category of relationship building.
Yeah.
So that was not urgent, but I think it was important.
Yeah.
So activities, other ones in zone 4 now is trivia. This is where the procrastinator lives. We've all done it. We get involved in activities like trivia, busy work. I'm always you're always busy, aren't you? But you've been productive.
Yeah.
No, but I like being busy. I'm moving that bit of paper to that way. I'm looking that paper to over there. I'm moving there to there. I'm organising my library. I'm organising my files. I'm getting all the things online. All right. I'm filling out my database. It's like you could maybe get a VA, a virtual assistant, or a junior to do that for you. Some phone calls. People are trying to sell you something. I'm quite blunt with people when they cold call me. It's like, okay, how are you today, Mr. Park? What you want? Let's just get it on. Let's just get on with it. What is it you're wanting? Oh, okay. This is what I'm not interested. See you later. Bye-bye. Or send me an email and I'll maybe do it later on, which I don't. It's just another way to fob somebody off. Time wasters and the pleasant activities, working in the zone. So here's what the procrastinator does. Procrastinator lives on crisis, emergency meetings, last minute deadlines, pressing problems, unforeseen events. That is crisis management. That is your procrastinator. The prioritizer, however, lives in the not urgent, but important. They're proactive with their work, the high impact goals, the creative think, planning and prevention, relationship building, and learning and renewal. What does the yes man do? You've got to be careful of this being a yes man or a yes woman, depending, or yes non-binary or whatever. Just to include yes inclusive, everybody. Just the yes person. Yes person, there you go. Needless interruptions. That's what they let them. They're not urgent. They're urgent, but they're not important. They allow needless interruptions. They are necessary reports that they get involved in. They're relevant meetings they get involved in. The other people's minor issues they get involved in. It's like they're in the middle of an office And then when they're working on something, somebody's arguing over in the corner and they go, oh, what's all that about?
And get involved in that,
like,
yeah.
What has it got to do with you? What has it got to do with you? Go and mind your own business and get on with your work. Do what you're needing to do. That's how you're productive. So get back to your work and what you're doing. Don't get involved in the minutiae. Unimportant emails, tasks, phone calls, post status. Oh, I've got to see this person about meeting. What for? Well, they're thinking about, doing a solicitor agreement with us, or they're thinking about, doing mortgage business with us. Have we got a mortgage broker already? Yes, we do. Are they okay? Yes, we are. So why are you getting involved in that then?
Yeah.
You're a yes person. But you're also a procrastinator.
Yeah.
And this is the final one for me. This is the fourth one, the trivia stuff I'm talking about. This is the slacker. This is what we call them. This is what, nobody actually. This is 7 habits of highly effective people. This is what Stephen Covey calls them, the slacker. The person that gets involved in trivial work, the avoidance activities, everything to avoid what they should be doing in the first place, excessive relaxation, television, gaming, internet, anything to avoid doing what they're meant to be doing, the time wasters, the gossip mongers, the keyboard warriors.
Oh.
Yes, the keyboard. You all know who you are, keyboard warriors. I'm amazed at the amount of times I put beautiful photographs on one of the community pages, and a lot of people go, oh, that's wonderful, and all the rest of it, that's great and fantastic. And you have these people going, what about the potholes in the road?
I know.
What's that got to do with the photograph?
We were speaking about that at the weekend, and community pages are so bad for it, and I suppose it's just, they'll always be there.
I love it, because you get to see other people's mindsets. I don't get involved in it. I don't get buried into it. One thing happened the other day in Pitt and Weem. I can't even remember what it was, but I was speaking to Laura about it, and I says, God, did you see that bit on the local page? And you had everyone, the keyboard warriors, and they were arguing back and forward about, it was a mural on one of the side of the buildings. It's like, oh, it shouldn't be there. Oh, it's lovely. Oh, it's horrible. And it's like the back and forward, and it's like, and I thought, I'm staying out of this. Because that's 4. That's category 4. That's I'm doing anything possible to avoid what I really should be doing. That's procrastination, and that's in its element. Procrastination. The procrastinator definitely gets involved in anything and everything to avoid the real task that they should be doing. My relationship sucks. I tell you what, I'll go down the pub and moan to it about with my pals.
Rather than do something about it.
Maybe work on your relationship.
Work on it,
Maybe actually go to counselling. Maybe actually swallow your pride and go to counselling with your partner and sort it out. Maybe that's the best thing to do. Oh, but I'll be really hurt, and that'll be uncomfortable, won't it?
Yeah.
Getting a real lesson today, yeah?
Yeah, I know. and it does fall into, I mean, the prioritising task thing. And you're right, you really need to look at something and think, right, I should deal with this now before it gets to the point where it becomes an urgent and I'm trying to manage it like a crisis. And you don't want to be in that situation. So prioritising is very important. And the points that you picked out, the book there, Jim, from Stephen Covey, are really, they are really helpful in being able to prioritise properly. So sometimes overwhelmed by tasks, I think, is a big, it does really fuel procrastination. And I think if you break tasks into smaller steps, I think is really an important thing. Sometimes the sheer size and complexity of tasks can really be quite overwhelming, and that could cause people to procrastinate because they don't want to tackle the task because it feels so big to them. So breaking it down in smaller and more manageable steps is probably the best way to approach that.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Here's a classic example of baby steps.
Yeah.
And here's a classic example of breaking tasks down into smaller steps. We all do it as a baby, and we all do it as parents, or with a puppy, for example, or a cat or something like that. We break all these, we break the task down into smaller steps. Look at a baby walking for the first time. It starts to crawl. We don't expect it to pop out and start walking and talking.
Running around. Yeah.
You know, we understand what it takes for a baby to learn and to grow up in our society. So we all accept that, and we follow that pattern of behavior. But at any point in time, when the baby stands up for the first time and holds on to the side of the sofa, and everybody goes, "Oh, it's wonderful, they're walking." At any point in time when it falls back down its backside, does anybody shout out, "Oh, you're never going to master this, just sit down and dinna bother"?
No, because everybody
No,
knows
we
that's
don't.
part of the process.
So why on earth do we do that with ourselves, even as adults? Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
As adults, we do that to ourselves. Whatever it is we're trying to achieve, and whatever it is goal we've set, and whatever schedule we've done, and whatever prioritizing the task we've done as well, we try to break it into smaller steps. But we often take that approach. Oh, well, you'll never master this walking thing. Just sit down and don't bother for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's how we approach things as adults. We expect to be perfect every single time. And it goes back to the guy with the fused neck. You know, the fact is, all his goal was to stand for 30 seconds every single day. My father would still be here if he had done that. I have every belief he'd still be here because he'd still have the muscle. It actually kept him here, and he would still be here for that reason. It's one of the biggest lessons I've learned, because he didn't exercise enough. He should have exercised. Oh, I could do that and I could do this. Oh, show me, but you need to do it every single day when we're not here. But he'd never had any muscle as a result of the Parkinson's. It just wore him down to the point he had no muscle. Therefore, he wasn't able to keep his organs in place. Therefore, that's why they all went about all over the place. And then when they went to operate, they went, well, even if we put them back where they should be, they'll just go all over the place again and twist.
Yeah.
You're goosed. So that's the sort of things you've got to understand. You've got to break it into smaller tasks and steps, but you really have to have manageable steps, and you have to stick to it. It's all a combination of everything that goes into this. It's like and it can feel overwhelming. It can feel complex, but just stand for 30 seconds. You know, just do that. If you're struggling to get off the couch at this point in time because you're suffering from depression, just stand up and stick your head out the window for a wee while, get a breath of fresh air, and just do that every single day and see how you get on. That's all you're asking yourself to do. Don't make yourself have overwhelming time. Oh, I'm going to get couch to 5K because I'm depressed. No, you've got a lot more to overcome in your mind. Yeah. So all you need to do is, and it's the same thing about the hoop, you know, it's like, oh, I just can't. I was speaking to somebody last week about this. It's like, my house is an absolute tip. Now I've got you know, I know if your house is an absolute tip, it's a reflection of who you are, and it's a reflection of how you are at this point in time. You know, it is definitely. That's okay though, as long as you understand that, and as long as you acknowledge that, you know where you are. Be honest with yourself. Because then you can build on that, and you can build from that and actually do something. And it could be that wee baby step every single day. It could be just the step of actually, I tell you what, I'll just put one thing away or in the bin every single day from one room. That's all I need to do. One thing from one room every single day. That's 365 over a year. Do you think your house will be tidy at the end of it? Absolutely.
Tidy out anyway, yeah.
But yet when you look at the whole thing and you feel like this, and the depression and the sheer weight on your mind it causes, and the lackluster, it's like you just feel like, oh, can't be bothered. I just can't do anything. I can't think anything. I can't think clearly. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa. Stop right there. Just do one thing. That's it. One thing, one day. That's all you need to do. Every single day. Even if it's get the Hoover out, a Hoover a third of your room, and just leave it there. And leave it there, because the sheer fact of you climbing over the Hoover every single day will motivate you to do it again at some point in time. And it does. You know how it does? Because I've done it. I've done it. I've been there. I've done it. I understand completely where some people are right now in that point in time. I've been there. I've done it. I've read the book, had the t-shirt, and I've done the video, and I've lived a life of that. So it literally is break it into smaller steps, manageable steps. And there will be some place you're going to come back from at some point in time. But you always have to keep remembering, this too shall pass. It will. It's not going to be any. It's going to be different in 5 years' time if you're going to do that. If you're just going to take these wee baby steps, it will be different. It's just doing that. It's even just sticking your head out the window, get a breath of fresh air, just start a new day. Even breath work. Going.
Yeah, and so you're
Now I feel that release from my brain already just with doing that. And do you know how that works? Because when you cry, you go. See that? And it's a natural response to actually take the stress off when you start to cry. So doing that's actually replicating what you do when you cry to alleviate stress on your body and on your mind. So that clearly works for people that are in that space at this point in time. Mm-hmm. Clearly, at this point in time, if you are depressed, you need to speak to the doctor and get the right clinical advice, by the way. But it's helpful to understand where you are right now and understand how you can solve it. Depression, Curse of the Strong by Dr. Tim Camphor is actually a great book to read if you want to understand a bit more about depressive illness, and it's The Curse of the Strong. Anyway, breaking into smaller tasks is really a thing you've got to do.
Yeah.
What else do we need to think about then?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jim, about breaking down into smaller tasks, and it can be quite overwhelming to go head on into something that feels very overwhelming. But yeah, like you said, really good examples about breaking it down. There also can be distractions along the way, and how do you manage distractions? Because it's like the shiny penny thing. We've covered that in previous shows and things as well. And identify and minimize distractions that can really derail your focus and take you away from what you're trying to achieve or where you're trying to get to.
Yeah. Distractions. How to avoid distractions? I think you need to make the dream or the goal bigger than the obstacle.
Bigger than the distraction, yeah.
Yeah, bigger than the actual distraction itself. If you're focused and you know exactly what it is you want in life, no everybody's going to know. You'll never know. There was days I thought, is it really going to hit me? When's it going to hit me? It's going to be like a bolt of light coming out the sky. Am I going to be suddenly sitting at a seminar? Because as everybody used to say when they used to talk on stage, they used to go, and I was sitting in the audience, and I thought he was just talking to me. And it's like, and I thought at that point, God just appeared and said to me, unto thee I will bequeath. And it's like, and I thought, it's going to be a bolt of lightning. It's going to come out of the sky. There's going to be something that's going to. No, there's no.
No, you make it happen. You make it happen.
There's no. It doesn't happen like that at all. You have to kind of make it happen. And in order to manage these distractions, I think you have to have a really big goal. You've got to have something in your mind that you think you want to really achieve so much, it becomes a burning desire and it becomes a must and a must have rather than I would just like.
Yeah.
A must have. Definitely a must have. I want rather than I need.
Yeah.
Oh, I want that.
You pick me up on that
so much.
Because I say, I'd like this, I'd like that rather than.
Actually, I would say a need rather than a want. It's a need. It will drive you further because a need is you definitely have to get this. A want is, I can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to have a Lamborghini Huracan, but I don't need it.
Do you need it? No.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't buy one. Because as soon as I get enough money, I'll just buy more houses. That's effectively it. Because
don't buy any more just yet.
because I realise that houses will set me free.
Yeah.
And I mean the income it comes from them. It will set me free and it will give me all my time back and I will never need to worry. I could live till 150, and I will still have income coming in every single day till 150-year-old. And when I pop my clogs, it will still have income coming in for the generations of my family to come. It will not. It doesn't rely on me to do that. When you're in property investment, and that's what I love about it. It's the same about stocks and shares. They will go up and down, as anything does. But if you invest in the right blue chip stocks, at some point in time, and you keep that investment portfolio right, then it will give you a good income every single time. Every single year, and it will always, the Standard & Poor's index in America, that always goes up as a natural result, because what happens is when money is injected into the economy, all that money is injected in and all that money is printed and everybody goes and spends it, and they spend it with these corporations in the Standard & Poor's 500. Therefore, guess what happens to the value of all these companies? It goes up. That's why the Standard & Poor's always goes up. And it's the same with the FTSE, more or less. It's the same sort of mentality. But Standard & Poor's more, though. Standard & Poor's 500, because there's 500 rather than just 100. So so this is a classic example about having the goal bigger than the obstacle. So whatever obstacle is in your life at this point in time, you've got to make that goal really big and that burning desire to do that, to overcome and manage your distractions. And you hit the nail on the head, Richard, and talking about the shiny penny. And the fact that, I get loads of offers from people. It's like, what about this and what about that? Would you buy my property here and would you buy my property there? And I'm like, well, it doesn't match my criteria, and I know where I'm going, and I know what I need to do to achieve it. So why would I want to do anything different? Here is the classic example of that. When you're on a road and a roadblock comes up, you sit and think to yourself, maybe I should take a turn around and I should go around the long way.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand the boredom of sitting in the traffic. But if you know you're getting through that traffic and you're getting to where you're going, why would you not just tolerate it? But some people can't do it. They've got the shiny penny sort of thing. I could take a turn, and I'd rather just be on and going somewhere. The excitement. I'd rather have the excitement of going somewhere and getting there and overcoming that obstacle. But you'll overcome the obstacle if you just wait for the queue to clear.
Do you know?
Stand in the queue at the supermarket.
That's an ad there at the moment. I've seen that. Yeah.
Maybe I should be in that one.
Do you know a good example of that? I mean,
who cares?
A good example of that, and it might only resonate with us or people that are local, but as you head into Leiden along the Diageo road, that can become quite a long queue traffic as you head towards the traffic lights. And a lot of people cut down through the housing scheme. And I used to do it as well. Funnily enough, Jim, I think you were in my car one day and you were like, why? Just sit and wait. And do you know, I do it all the time now. And it's like, because really by the time you drive around, you're probably actually taking longer. And it's like, just wait on the traffic light.
This is where your serial entrepreneurs come along, because they don't want to sit in that queue, but even though they know it's going to get them the result they want. I'm quite happy to be bored and sit in the queue,
as long as
especially when I know what the result is. That's why I talk about it quite a lot, about property investment, about this is just a numbers game to me. I know exactly what I'm buying it for. I know exactly what the rental level was. I know exactly the tolerance I need to have. I know exactly the costs involved if I need to do anything. And I know the result I'm going to get. And I know it's going to go up and appreciate in value over time. And I know it's going to give me a good, healthy cash flow every single month. I'll just sit in the queue. Boredom's a really good thing. It pays very well.
Yeah.
I'm not let's rip it apart and start again. Let's take ages and knock down walls and refurbish the whole thing and put new bathroom suites in and put everything in and add all that significant value to it. Okay. But have we got a tenant in it? No, we haven't. How long is that going to be? It's going to be a year. All right, so I'm going to lose £6,000 in income then in that year. And then I'm going to spend 22,000 in actually doing it when I could actually just move somebody in and do it as they go.
Yeah.
Because they're happy to do it. They're happy to have their new kitchen as they go. And then I'm happy. And then you've got your council tax on top of that you've got to pay. And then your utilities on top of that you've got to pay. So and then you've got your interest on it you've got to pay as well, because you're not servicing the debt anymore. So essentially that's costing you 10 grand a year to wait. Yeah. And then you've got to pay 22. So it's 32,000 you're paying for doing that. And yet just to get you the same result. Hello? That doesn't make sense. I can get all the money back out and reinvest it. Now that's why you're doing it. Because you can't go in to buy something else. So that's why you would do that strategy. Because you want all the money back out to do the same thing against somewhere else. Yeah, I get that completely. If that's the strategy you've got. I don't need to do that strategy anymore. You used to do that in the early days. And I used to think that was a great strategy to keep doing all the time. But then I thought to myself, why am I giving myself all this grief? Why would I need to keep the excitement going? What is the point of that? To keep me hyper? Have I got a thing about stress? Do I love the cortisone? People get addicted to that. They get addicted to that. And that's the distractions you've got to This is all about understanding yourself then. This comes back to knowing you more than you know yourself. That's a weird one, eh?
Yeah, but it's about knowing why you let these kind of things distract you.
which is why I listen to obscure podcasts about psychology, about, you know, the whole thing about the fight or fight response, about how people do what they do, about how people, you know, things like, you know, oh, you can. This is a daft title, but it's obviously clearly clickbait. You can get more sex. You know, in Diary of a CEO with some doctor on there, and it's like, it's not about that at all.
It's just
That's only a clickbait thing. So people go, oh, I could do that. It's like, no, that's about 30 seconds of a thingy. But there's a whole context about the psychology behind why people do what they do. And the run up to that one bit, it says, oh, you can go, I can get you more sex. And it's like, that's why some people will watch it. But I'll watch it because it's like, it's something I could learn from. Whether it's going to be a positive or negative experience is another story. But it's very rarely a negative experience, especially if it's from someone far more successful than you in that field.
Yeah.
Become a student of life. That's what you want to do. Learn off of somebody else that's far more successful than you. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't go back to university and set a psychology degree. Just listen to somebody that actually knows what they're talking about.
Yeah,
and take on board what they're saying.
You could learn so much from people that have done it before you or have already succeeded in the field that you're in. But I mean, managing distractions, they could be as simple as maybe switching your phone off when you're trying to do something, find maybe that quiet space to work in. And like you said, Jim, about like emails and things, and block things that are coming through that distract you.
How many people are going to be able to switch their phone off?
I know.
Oh yeah,
Do you know
boy.
what? If I'm doing something now, because my phone is very busy, and if I'm something I need to do, I put it on silent and I turn it upside down on the desk, and I'll come back to it when I'm finished. Because I mean, it's so easy. If somebody phones me and I'm like, "Oh, I need to speak to them." Do you know? And it takes me away from what I'm trying to do, and what I'm trying to do is important.
Find a quiet workspace. How many people want to be alone with their thoughts? Very few.
I find that working on my own quite it's the best thing I could do, because
but even psychologically sitting in a room on their own with nothing else to stimulate their brain, just sitting in a room in a chair in total isolation with no window, no pictures, just four walls. How many people can actually sit and do that?
Yeah, I would need the window and other things just to keep me safe.
People, it's not to keep you sane. It's because you're hardwired like this.
Yeah,
it's because society has actually hardwired you into having stimulation all the time. Your brain craves it every single time. This is why I go on to say, when they put these students into the room and said, there's a machine over in the corner, it gives you electric shocks. It's going to be quite sore though. You can use it if you want, but I would recommend you probably don't. And then when they sat the students in the room, about 100 of them, almost every single one of them went and had a play with the electric shock machine because they couldn't stand sitting in isolation and peace and quiet with four walls and no stimulation. They would rather be hurt. They'd rather hurt themselves to stimulate themselves
than just sit idly. Yeah.
Why do you think people climb mountains? Why do you think people take huge risks, jump out of planes with a bloody sheet on their back?
Why would they do that?
Why do you think people do that? It's like, flipping heck. Really? You jump out a plane with a sheet and, with a parachute, effectively. It's a sheet. Like, I'm not taking any risk like that. If that doesn't work, you're not coming back.
No.
I'm only round one, so there's no way I'm doing it. But that's what people do because they need to feel alive. It's the rush that they get from it.
Yeah.
So you have to understand your body, and you have to learn to understand that and manage these distractions. Time management's a big thing as well.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on time management?
Time management is really important, and obviously time management and techniques and things as well. There's a technique called the Pomodoro technique. Now, that's when you work and focus on a period for, say, maybe like 20, 25 minutes, and then you take a short break. And then that could really help you maintain your productivity. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're not burning yourself out concentrating on something for an hour and 2 hours at a time. Do you know, just
the Pomodoro technique, yeah.
Pomodoro, yeah. So you just break it down into, say, all right, I'm going to focus and work on this for 25 minutes, say. And I'll have a wee break and I'll come back to it and do another 25. Do you know if it's something that you think maybe is a bit challenging and difficult to work through, or challenging to work through, should I say?
But you know what happens, Richard? We get addicted to the screen time.
Yeah.
We get things like TikTok and that know so well. They know how to addict us and how to keep us engaged for more than 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it causes a huge amount of stress, but you don't realize it's happening. So this is why you have to take these short breaks, especially when you're doing stuff. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes I come off these shows, and because we've been so intense and so talking about different subjects and that, I'm like, flipping egg, I'm exhausted.
I've done it this morning already, and there was stuff I really needed to get through and get done, and it involved a lot of me looking at the screen. And I sat, it was about 2 hours, and I thought, and before we come on this, I thought I have to stop and go make myself a coffee and just like look away from the screen for a while, because I knew I was coming in.
And it's because what happens is when you start to concentrate, your breathing stops, and you get shorter breaths. You're taking in less oxygen. The brain's getting less oxygen, therefore you become stressed because you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain. So this is why you get overwhelmed and you start to get headaches as a result as well. And then you end up with migraines as well, because you're not taking enough oxygen in, because you're sitting hunched at a computer sometimes, and you're sitting concentrating on a screen. And then your line of sight, your eyesight then starts to lose as well, and you start to get stressed because you're not changing your focal between your foveal and your eye. Yeah, your foveal vision. You're not changing your periphery and foveal. So foveal is like wide, periphery is wide, foveal is concentrated. So I actually have an audience on the wall here that actually look at
it. Do you know, I noticed that. I dropped something off at you the other week, and I'm like, what? Who are these people?
Yeah, I've got an audience on the wall here I look up to, and I see the audience out there, and then I've got a chart in the middle, which actually I can then just focus on, which I can actually change my foveal and periphery vision just by looking at that one of these wee charts. You know how you looked at things and these 3D drawings, and all of a sudden the 3D pops out at you. Well, that's what that is. That's the difference between foveal and periphery vision.
Yeah.
So if you change that line of sight, it actually de-stresses you. So there's a reason that I have these on there for that very reason when I'm speaking to people. And actually I could speak to different people at different points in time and actually engage with them. So when I'm public speaking, when I stand up, I know it's just a procedure. It's just a procedure. Procedure. You're catching the eyesight of different people in the area and actually speaking to them individually, and then going to speak to someone else individually as well, just like we're doing here on TikTok, and then just like we're doing here on the Facebook pages and YouTube channel. And TikTok at that time's been neglected because they're across to the side. So that's the fundamental difference about using time management techniques and focused short breaks to help you maintain your productivity and prevent that burnout overall.
Yeah. Because you will burn out if you keep trying to do things without obviously taking a break and obviously coming and then in between and coming back to things. I think it's important.
This is where I jump back to talking about, this is where you find out the motivation to help you focus on the benefits you will gain in completing it. Also reward yourself for completing a task to stay motivated. Accountability is a big thing. You see that every single time I go out running.
Yep.
I don't post that to say, look at me. I post that to me to say, yes, you're out actually doing it. And actually, the reason that I'm posting and I'm doing a live and talking online, because I'm talking through in my own mind about my own thoughts, and I'm actually documenting them so everybody else can see what I'm doing. But I'm not expecting any appreciation for anybody. I'm not expecting any likes. I'm not looking for any affirmation. This is all for me. Hence the reason I put #accountability. It'll maybe give somebody else some inspiration as well. That's kind of why I'm doing it. You know, if somebody else realizes,
a byproduct of you reinforcing your own accountability.
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt, Richard. We'll all look up to somebody at some shape and form, and actually to see warts and all, I think is a really refreshing thing for a lot of people out there to understand. It's like, you know, so God, he's just like me. So then this is what I used to think. Well, they're just like me. So I could probably achieve that as well if I just kind of follow that pattern, and that's relatability. You know, that's why I do the accountability, and that's why I share my goals and my progress with someone else. Effectively, me. I'm talking to me in the third person when I'm doing that blogs and vlogs about my accountability. Ian's a good one I bounce off in terms of a friend, and they can help you hold yourself accountable and provide support and encouragement. You have to get the right people, though. Remember that.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to get the right people.
Have the right people around you. Yeah.
Sometimes your family are not the people that you should be accountable to. because they're not the most encouraging, because all they want to do is protect you. So if you're doing something out of the ordinary, it's uncomfortable to you, then they just want to protect you. So they'll try everything in their power to actually keep you exactly where you are and make it so comfortable for you. Whereas you've got a mentor, for example, somebody who actually doesn't know the fact that they used to push you down the high street drunk in a shopping basket, a shopping trolley. That type of person that doesn't know that history that you've got and just sees you for who you are right now at this point in time. If you've got a mentor like that, they tend to keep you on track. So that might be somebody that you're just encountering for the first time. You think, yeah, I want to follow them. I maybe want to ask them questions as well, because they'll kind of make me accountable for myself and keep me on track.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've covered quite a lot today, and I think obviously setting goals, creating schedules, prioritising your tasks, breaking things down into smaller steps, managing distractions, and your time management techniques, finding that motivation, and also, like we just covered there, is seek that accountability. I think what everybody needs to remember, though, is overcoming procrastination takes time and a bit of effort. So be patient with yourself, and obviously keep experimenting with different strategies until you find what's best, what works for you best, and then you will get there. And like you say, Jim, surround yourself with the right people, have good mentors, and things that will help propel you and move you forward in your journey and help you ultimately achieve your goals. That's ultimately.
Definitely.
Yeah. So unless you want to add anything, I think we'll leave it there.
No, that's us. Be patient. Keep experimenting. Different strategies. You'll find what works best for you. But remember, it's a journey. It's not a destination. You don't need to have it overnight. If you don't achieve it in the first instance according to your plan, it's like a classic example. The goal is in stone, but the path and the journey is in sand. And the sand might get washed away. Your foot, the journey by the waves that come in. It's a classic analogy I talk about all the time. The waves come in, wash away the footprints that you were meant to follow, but you can still see in the distance where the goal is, because the rock is still there. So you know where you want to go. It just might take you a wee bit longer. Often, most people do take a wee bit longer. And so don't beat yourself up too much about it.
Yeah, recalibrate and kind of keep going.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Jim, right, thanks for that. Thanks everyone for watching, and you could catch us on the rerun, and the podcast will be tomorrow or later on today. It'll probably go out, and we'll be back next week at 12:30.
Yeah, bye-bye for now.